Leaving behind our blue Earth and the Moon, we have moved 40 million km ahead. See the Sun bright and fiery, 110 million km away. Between our land and the Sun exists the land where doomsday falls every day. Here the Sun rises in the west. It is the planet Venus, the twin planet of the Earth. But how twin? The Earth is like paradise, blue, beautiful, full of plants, vibrant with human love and laughters. But the Venus, my God, the heat at the Venus beats the fire of the alive volcanoes. The land of the Venus emits fire, and the clouds shower acid. Here sulfuric acid rains. But how do we know all that? How do we get the information of a body millions of miles away from the Earth? Is the Venus, the goddess of love for the Romans, which we call the evening star, livable by the human beings? Does life exist at the Venus? Which celestial body can be burnt to ashes for being the nearest to the Sun? But it has the seas of ice on its surface. How and why it could be possible? The Venus is the planet that appears the brightest in the sky before the dawn and the dusk from the Earth. The Venus is not the largest planet of the solar system, but why it looks the brightest of all? One reason is its being the nearest to the Earth. The second most important reason is the heavy clouds of gases floating all around the Venus. These clouds are so thick that they reflect 70% of light from the Sun on it. That is why the Venus appears the brightest after the Moon in the sky. When the night gets dark, the same Venus raises hope of a bright morning among the hopeful. This planet is charming from the outside but equally horrific from the inside. A 250 kilometers thick and dense layer of gases encircles the planet Venus. A highly terrible scene emerges when one goes down piercing through those clouds of gases. God forfend, any glimpse of the hell can only be found at the Venus if one imagines it on the Earth. The land of Venus is bursting out lava all the times, as we have forests on our land. The Venus has the jungles of volcanoes, but they are not merely volcanoes. Here is also stormy rains of the acids every time. Here sulfuric acid rains like explosion of the clouds during monsoon on the Earth, heaping the volcanoes and the acidic rains in the mind. You hear further. The thunderous winds at the pace of hundreds of kilometers per hour also blow on the Venus, wheeling Hurricane 1, 2, 3, and 4 as per the intensity of the storm on the Earth. Hurricane 5 is the highest category of the storm anywhere on the Earth. The hurricane throws down the trees, blows out roofs, and renders the locality unlivable where it occurs. Hurricane 5 blows at the speed of 250 km per hour, while the storms on the Venus run at the speed of 360 km per hour. Acidic rains, severe storms, and a 250 kilometers thick layer of clouds is the first impression of this goddess of love. Living on the Earth, we had adored this goddess from the bottom of our heart. After that, the land of the Venus is asking us, do you still need my introduction? I am the same you had once loved. No one can live on this horrifying planet where life is out of question for two reasons. First is the atmospheric pressure on the Venus that is much higher than the Earth's due to 250 kilometers thick layer. Against the gaseous pressure of 14.7 pound per square inch on the Earth, it is 1300 on the Venus. It is 90 times more on the Venus than our blue world. The pressure is so high that even a strong vehicle would get pressed, let alone a man. Therefore, the life in a developed form is hard to find on the Venus. Perhaps any sign of life in its preliminary form would be found on the Venus, like unicellular, algae, bacteria, or at least any mycoplasma that are the simplest forms of life. There is another reason for the absence of life on the Venus. That another prerequisite of life is water and the oxygen. The oxygen in the Venus atmosphere is negligible, while anti-life gas carbon dioxide is 96%. How much this combination is dreadful may be assessed from the fact that atmosphere on the Earth has 78% of nitrogen and 21% oxygen and 0.1% carbon dioxide, not even 1%. Hence, the Earth got a reason to beget life. This equation on the Venus is diametrically reverse. The Venus also does not have the flowing water, another most vital condition of life. In this situation, making efforts to find out life on the Venus amounts to living in the fool's paradise. What is this? Granite exists on the Venus. And granite does not form without water, that too in a very large quantity. Like the water in the seas. Does it show the presence of seas ever on the Venus? The answer is yes, as the Venus in the beginning was quite like the Earth. Billions of years ago, when our solar system came into being, the Earth and the Venus were alike. Both had the seas of surging tides, hence they did not differ much. But later the Venus continued to drift to the Sun and grew in heat accordingly. Then the atmospheric ring around the Venus became so thick and dense that they turned the planet into a hell. The sunlight enters the atmosphere but does not reflect. So the Venus continued to absorb heat for millions of years and acquired unimaginably high temperature. The temperature on the Venus has touched 471 degrees centigrade. Rather, it is higher than 472 at some other places on the Venus. So the intense gaseous pressure, acidic rains, stormy winds, countless alive volcanoes have proved that the Venus is not all suitable for human living. Look at the compressed burnt iron structure on the Venus surface, which is the remnant of Venera 3. 3 years prior man's landing on the Moon, Russia in 1966 launched Venera program for research on the Venus. Venera 3 of the program landed on the Venus on March 1, 1966. To be more precise, it fell on the Venus because it was a failed landing. It was unmanned mission, meaning nobody was traveling in that mission. The Venera 3 turned into pieces and burnt due to intense heat and pressure. As soon as it landed on the Venus, the mission did not send any information or data to the Earth. The debris of this maiden success mission of man is present on the Venus to date. The Venera also bears the print of a Soviet stamp, a hammer, and a sickle. The mission failed to conduct any experiment on the Venus, yet it was the first guest on it from the Earth. Russia also sent Venera 4, 5, and 6 mission to the Venus, but they all remained unsuccessful. Russia continued to improvise the spacecraft for the next mission, overcoming the previous failures. That was why the devastating factors of the Venus failed to destroy instantly the Venera 7 on its surface. This probe, Venera 7, continued to work for 23 minutes, and it also sent signals to the Earth. After that, Venera 8 and 9 were dispatched to the Venus, although it also disappeared in the thick cloudy loyer after 53 minutes on the Venus. Yet before that, it delivered valuable report about this planet that goes for a big achievement in the space sciences. This picture before you is the first of the Venus surface. This picture was captured and sent to the Earth by Venera 9. This fert-colored picture was sent to the Earth from the Venus by Venera 13 in 1985. Russia, America, and Japan have so far sent altogether 40 spacecraft to the Venus. These missions gave mixed results, but it was Pioneer mission of NASA that furnished map of the Venus. The Pioneer was launched in 1978. It was designed not for landing on the Venus, but to revolve around the Venus and take its pictures and send them to the Earth through signals. The Pioneer performed very well for 12 years. This mission told us about a mountain on the Venus higher than the Mount Everest, and the ditches deeper than the Americans' Grand Canyon. The Pioneer Venus orbiter retired in 1992 and got silent forever by plunging into the Venus. Just stop here and think how these machines send signals to the Earth from millions of kms away. Just like we operate TV set through the remote control. The distance is the only difference. Remote control sends signals to a short distance, while signals from the spacecraft cover millions of miles. The spacecraft landing on the Moon or a planet are already equipped with antennas. The antenna transmits radio signal to the Earth, and the huge-size radio antennas on the Earth receive these signals and refer them to the space laboratory. The laboratories have a complete system to decode these signals that are binary codes, meaning consisting of 2 digits, 0 and 1. The same procedure is used in our computer and the smartphone technology. This method provides us information from the Moon, the Mars, and hundreds of other space sites where man had sent the probe or the research missions. But it also involves an interesting problem. That the Earth is rotating continuously, as such a receiver on it would change its direction after 12 hours. And here is the question, how it would catch the signals on the other side. The problem has been sorted out by installing a chain of many antennas which pass the signals on to the others. They are connected to one and another. That is why signals do not miss any time. Same way the planets where the spacecraft or the probes land are also revolving. How will these machines transmit signals when a moving planet turns to the other side? The answer is, one or more satellites continue to move on the orbit of the moon or the planets where the probe machines have been sent to. The satellites receive signals for the machines and send them to the Earth. The signals are captured by the powerful antennas or receivers on the Earth. This whole process is called Deep Space Network or DSN. This system is so advanced that it can receive the signals 20 billion times weaker than the normal ones. For the reason that man has sent some research missions billions of kms away. It is amazing. Its tale will also be narrated, but here see the wonderful scene that the sun is rising in the west on the Venus. It goes that before the doomsday, the sun will rise in the west. By that account, the Venus has the doomsday every day, because here the sun always rises in the west. A question will certainly strike the mind that the east is where the sun rises, and how can a planet where the sun always rises in the same direction could be called rising in the west? Looking from the angel of the North Star, all planets in the solar system will appear moving anti-clockwise. Therefore, the east and the west of all planets are the similar. But the Venus is the only planet that has clockwise rotation on its axis. Therefore, a contrary system is running on the Venus from the rest of the planets in the solar system. So we can say, against the Earth and other planets, the sun rises in the west and sets in the east on the Venus. The rotation is not only adverse but also extremely slow. So slow that a day on the Venus is equal to 243 days on the Earth. It means when the Venus completes one round on its axis, our Earth has completed 243 rounds. One round means one day. It is even interesting that a year on the Venus is shorter than the day on the Earth. It is quite interesting. By the time the Venus completes a cycle on its axis, it has cycled around the Sun in 225 days of the Earth. If you happen to dwell in the Venus, you are likely to celebrate the birthday twice in a day. Lest we should grow old in days on the Venus, let's move ahead. Look, the sun is there in front of us. So move one. It must be borne in mind that we are over 70 million kms away from the Earth at this stage. The journey ahead is so interesting that no question to come back.